Welcome to The InEVitable, a podcast by MotorTrend.
Hi there, and welcome to The InEVitable. This is the podcast where we talk about the future of transportation, the future of the car, the future of the automobile, the future of old Italian brands that are maybe turning 125 years old pretty soon. I am Jonny Lieberman. This is my co-host, Ed Lowe.
Hello there. Yep.
No, go ahead.
Head
No,
of
please.
editorial at MotorTrend, here with this important message. The InEVitable Vodcast is brought to you by the all-electric Nissan Ariya, inspired by the future, designed for the now. And to kick off this episode, we have a question.
You have a question.
It comes from Instagram. A gentleman who goes by @BugEyeACR. I don't know. I looked it up, but he doesn't have a first name apparently.
That's fine.
On our episode with Jack Chang of Mobility and Harmony, he asked, probably tongue-in-cheek, more Big Brother tracking? No, thank you.
Well,
to which you actually commented back, and you said...
Something along the lines of, did you type that from a device that knows everything about you, that knows your favorite foods, it knows where your mistress lives, it knows every single thing about you?
So to unpack it a little bit,
Yeah.
we understand that software-defined vehicles, everything digital, creates a level of anxiety in some people, right? Like, I don't want this thing. You're telling me it's got the touch screen and it's got the voice assistant. That's great. But now you're telling me it's tracking my every movement and it's going to tell me what to eat.
But your phone's tracking your every movement. Also, you don't like EVs because there's lithium in them. Your phone has lithium in the battery.
Right.
You don't like EVs because there's cobalt. Well, guess what? You cannot refine gasoline. You can't refine oil into gasoline or diesel fuel without cobalt. So for me, it's just the blind hypocrisy of it.
Well,
Lithium mining it pollutes. You should see what oil drilling does. You should see what happens when you dump oil in the ocean, which happens all the time.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
This dude, Bug Guy, was just asking
There are no stupid questions. Oh, wait, there are lots of stupid questions.
He was just asking about the tracking piece. So,
your phone tracks you exactly the same way the car will track you.
Yeah. And let's go back to my multi-billion-dollar idea of a dumb car. If you Bug Guy, if you want to invest in my idea.
Dumb chargers. Let's invest in dumb chargers.
How about a car that you only buy once, that doesn't know your name, doesn't care where you live, doesn't record anything? That's my idea.
That's another episode.
looking
But
for
on this episode,
this
is a good one. This is
hey,
interesting.
thank you, Bug Eye, for shooting us a question in the comments. If you got a question you want answered, please let us know. Put it in the comments on this episode, either on the post on MotorTrend.com, on YouTube,
Instagram,
or shoot us an Instagram DM,
or email MotorTrend@MotorTrend.com. And I don't know if Bug Eye wants one, but we'll send him a hat, send him a mug,
something like that.
something like a
But let's talk
t-shirt.
about our guest. So
Yes.
we have a very fine young man, very troubling. He looks much younger than both of us.
He's about 10 years younger.
Yet he's the head of a major, oh my God, really? He's the head of a major automotive brand, head of Fiat North America, Aamir Ahmed. Fantastically interesting story. He has a wild career arc that goes through several companies that we
Starts with go-karting.
that
really
we know and love.
Really starts with go-karting, which is cool. So follow your passions, children.
Yes, but he's here to talk to us about the 2024 Fiat 500e. So let's welcome Aamir. All right, so thank you. Aamir Ahmed, head of Fiat North America. Thank you so much for enduring rain, a presidential visit to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And coming in for a special late taping edition of The InEVitable.
That's right. I hung out with Biden's Marine One pilots yesterday.
Really?
They were at Jay Leno's garage wandering around.
Does that mean Biden went to Leno?
I have no idea. No, Biden sure didn't. It was just the pilots. It was pretty cool.
My last 3 domestic flights have all been delayed because of a presidential visit. Leaving Detroit to go to NADA was delayed because he was flying into Michigan. Leaving Vegas out of NADA back to Michigan, he came into Las Vegas to fundraise. This flight didn't get delayed, but I know there's going to be some
So
issues
you're
this week.
presidential adjacent.
Yeah,
Yeah, magnetic apparently.
You're following the president around.
But you are not here on
What's a better way to put that? Yeah.
You're not here on presidential business. You are here road showing for the new 2024 Fiat 500e. And that's what we're going to talk about for most of this episode. And then get into some of your personal stuff, personal and professional stuff. Just to set it up, I have a personal connection to the 500e. My brother actually owned one for a very long time. We joined the waiting list in 2012 and got one in 2013.
Oh, really?
And turned around and sold it in 2019. And actually, surprise, or maybe not, he loved it. He had a great time with it. He lived in the Bay Area, okay, and they did not drive very far because it was a little bit range limited. But this new one, new and improved. So go, tell us all about it.
Yeah, excited to bring it back. 2024 Fiat 500e. It's been a bit of a hiatus. So your brother sold his car right when the 2019 500e went out of production in North America. The 500e in general, or 500, went out of production. So here we are, 5 model years later, bringing a iconic vehicle that is basically transcendent in Europe right now. It's the best-selling EV city car in Europe. We've sold almost 200,000 of them already. So we're talking about a car that's just absolutely trailblazing in Europe for EVs and city cars in general. So it's about time to bring it back to the States, pick up where the 500e left off in 2019, but we're going to do it in all 50 states this time, and we've almost doubled the range. So you're talking about 149 miles of combined range. More importantly, in a city like Los Angeles, 162 miles of city range. So we're going to use that regen to our advantage out here when you're sitting in traffic, as I've been doing for the past 3 days, and get the most out of our range.
Are those EPA numbers as far as you know? So 149 that's with the bigger battery, right? Is there just
There's just one battery.
just
so
one.
yeah, and we'll talk about it. We've done our best to absolutely simplify everything about this vehicle. That goes from the way we're going to drop vehicles and in terms of how we've packaged it. There's really only 2 options on the vehicle. There's going to be either a summer tire or an all-season tire. And then outside of that, when you buy a car, or lease a car, you'll get an L2 charger for your home or charging credits, and that's it. Aside from that, it's going to be different combinations of the vehicle that will be dropped as packages.
So wait. So it's a 24 kilowatt hour battery.
42 kilowatt hour battery. 24 was the
original
old car.
one. Okay,
Yeah.
that's I was like, how'd you guys get like almost twice as much mileage? Okay, so you double the battery in the same.
And we
size
shaved about 50 pounds off the car in doing that. So from 2019 24 kilowatt hour car compared to the 2024 car, it's about 50 pounds lighter and over double the battery size.
And is it how is it identical to the car being sold in Europe, or did you have to do any changes for North America?
No, we absolutely homologated it for the North American market. So, we've got A-pillar curtain airbags, for instance, strengthen the roof, strengthen the doors, for instance.
So crash tests, stuff.
And then just overall lighting things, for instance. Unfortunately, we had to add some amber running lights on the front fascia, which kind of ruined the front look of the car. But we did our best. We put some Italian tricolore flags where the turn signals are on the European car, and we've added some little Easter eggs to give a nod to, the T in Fiat, which is Torino in Italy. We've kind of had some Easter eggs on the outside of the vehicle for that as well.
Easter eggs from a Stellantis product? You don't say.
But what I'm asking, there's no this battery is the same battery as the
Samsung battery that's being produced in Europe. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And is it overall dimensions? How do they compare to the old vehicle?
So we're looking at 2 inches wider from a track standpoint, about an inch longer on a wheelbase, 2 inches longer overall, and an inch taller.
Is it the same? I tried to look this up. There is no. This does not correspond to STLA.
It does. It's
small.
Stella City.
Oh, Stella City.
It's its own bespoke platform.
That's the one that's also shared with was it the Ford Ka too? Or is that the old? That's the old.
No, this was our bespoke platform for the 500e that was kind of in development before the merger even.
Okay.
And then when that happened, we've converted to the nomenclature of the new Enterprise, so it's Stella City.
But it's logical to assume there'll be like a Citroen or a Peugeot or something that's.
It depends, the way we're looking at this. So we obviously have a variety of brands. We've got 14 brands under the Stellantis empire, which is fantastic.
We have a hard time counting them. Yeah.
But for now, we've got the 500e that sits on its own bespoke platform that was designed from the ground up to be electric.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So you said 200,000 already sold in Europe. When did it go on sale in Europe?
2020.
Okay. And
so
then,
cool parallel there was, and I found this out when I was visiting Torino back in October. I was looking at blueprints of the old car. So the original 500 came out in 1957, introduced in the U.S. market 1961. So after 4 years, and we're kind of replicating that model again here.
And then you said best selling for the city segment. What else is there that we might know of?
I'm not going to name drop competitors.
Oh, come on.
But obviously you look at it.
I mean, there's a smart EV and stuff like that.
Well, Mini, you've got the Mini vehicle out there, and then you've got some, again, unique to the European market vehicles that don't necessarily make their way over here. So our competitive set here is going to be a little bit different than what they have in Europe.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Like, cause I don't know anything that size class that is.
I mean,
in the US,
mini EV, the smart EV was here, but I think it went away. And then the Mazda, I think that they just canceled. It had like 100 miles of range. They sold 3.
Compliance car.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So I get it. I figured you wouldn't name drop the.
No, he name dropped.
No, but I mean the ones in the U.S. This is wild. So you double the size, almost double the size of the battery, 42 kilowatt hour, and yet the vehicle is
Made it bigger.
Made it bigger, wider, bigger in every dimension.
Marginally. I mean, inch here, inch there. It's not. But
it's not like it feels bigger.
It's not like the Mini that went away from my house this morning, which is the size of an SUV, even though it says Mini on it. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's lighter by 50 pounds, and you guys, because I'm looking at these talking points you sent us, lightest passenger.
That was Nick that sent them to you, by the way, our PR guy.
Yeah.
Of course, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk
great.
about.
Let's get into it. Future of Dodge.
No, but you were saying the lightest. So you said 3,000 pounds for an EV, which kind of
just under 3,000 pounds.
Under 3,000. So it bucks the trend of heavy.
Under 3,000
Yeah,
pounds.
so it bucks the trend
Whoa. All right.
of
cool.
EVs are heavier. So because I think the gas one was right around there. The gas one
was lighter. It was around 2,400 pounds.
Oh, was that light?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we added about 600 pounds of mass.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I owned a 2013 500 Abarth that I absolutely loved. I actually bought that car.
Great car.
Yeah, and dynamically, I think the mass actually helps it if you guys have driven an Abarth because you've got basically even weight across and between the wheels. So it's all even. Unlike your brother's car, a lot of the weight was in the back of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. So dynamically, it handles fantastic.
I talked to a German engineer one time. I can't remember the company, but I said, you guys must have a formula for if you're adding EV weight, but that weight goes lower in the center of gravity, it improves the handling by X. And he's like, oh, yes, that's blah, blah, blah. You know, he had some term for it. So
I just need to know, does it do a hard corner? Will it lift up the inside wheel? Will that tripod?
Probably. Short wheelbase.
Really?
Keys, please. No, I haven't tried it on mine. Mine's on winter tires back in Michigan right now.
Oh, so it'll totally do it, yeah.
No, the Fiat 500e tripod, that will be, once we get one in, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, but anything,
call me out. I want to watch that.
Anything with a short wheelbase will do that.
Well, not anything. I mean,
yeah, anything. I do that. I've done that in a G-Wagon.
I've done it in Wranglers.
Yeah, I've done it in an old G-Wagon.
I mean at speed, not like lifting a wheel.
No, at speed. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, some other
grin on your face. You're so happy about it.
It's easy. It's short wheelbase. Go up on 3.
Okay, some other specs here. So you're claiming 149 range, but 162 in
city.
The stop and go city.
Correct. Yeah, because they're going to regen. Yep.
Okay, that's pretty good. The mind blowing one is 0 to 80% in 35 minutes on a DC fast charger on like a 350 kilowatt.
Why is that mind blowing?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Not really.
Well, I guess because you're
I like add more.
Everyone likes add more. No one likes add more. But
because you're calculating because it's only 150 miles. Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm just saying, like, I mean, like a Lucid can do 10 to 80% in 12 minutes, and that'll give you 300 miles of range. So.
Lucid not starting at
32. I'm just saying
32,500.
State of the art.
32,500. That's right.
No, 32,500 plus destination, which is
what, $2,000?
$1,595.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't do the math. But anyway,
$34.95, I believe.
Yeah.
Key distinction: first generation Fiat 500es were built in Mexico. This one is built in Italy, but it's great. I'm sure worth all the Easter eggs, but not eligible for the tax
on
credit.
the purchase. On the lease, you still get it.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And these are. And do you have a prediction breakdown for like purchasing versus leasing of this car
in terms of mix?
Yeah.
Not the one that we're going to share, obviously.
Okay.
Like you said, given the IRA qualification for a lease, you would imagine a lot of people would probably skew towards lease. That said, we'll have some conversations on the payments coming up here the next few weeks and start publishing what that's going to look like.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised, depending on what market you're in. The Texas market, for instance, it's a lot of cash buyers. They would rather just buy a car outright.
Sure.
And for $32,500, it's one of the most affordable EVs in the country.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a whole lot
cheap
of money.
for a new car.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's go back to your brother's 2015. When that car went out of production in 2019, the new car is actually a few $100s cheaper than the 2019 500e in terms of MSRP.
But you guys had crazy lease deals on that car initially. I remember, I want to say one time I was talking with a colleague of ours, John Guzik, who I was like, I think did he lease one? I can't remember, but it was like we were looking. It was like it's $109 a month. It's like my cell phone's $120 a month. Like,
but the problem is when they all came off lease, there was a period where you could buy one of these things used for like a song. And,
yeah. Well, that's
and a lot of those cars ended back outside of California and they moved out east, and that's where we saw pretty quickly that there was a market for this car across the country too. Right. So that's why we're going to sell in all 50 states this time. It's a great
little city car. It's great for, I think, retirees too. Like, hey man, you never have to pay for. It's cheaper than filling up, and if you're just toting stuff around.
I mean, there's also I still am like baffled by it, but I meet a lot of people, probably 16 up, that's like, oh, I don't drive on freeways, so like they're not going on road trips.
And my mom hates freeways,
and I'm always like, freeways are the greatest. Like, there's no one coming at you. There's nowhere safer to be on the road. But anyways,
all right, let's keep talking here. So, what is?
Or you can cut us off either way.
Yeah. Hey, what's this vehicle engine that sings? Acoustic vehicle alert system. What kind of marketing hokiness is this? Come on.
So you're familiar with what AVAS is. Obviously, we've got regulations on electric vehicles that they need to emit a certain amount of noise.
Yes, under 20
Correct.
miles per hour.
Correct.
Going backwards, yeah.
Right. So what we've done is, given that there is already a speaker that's going to be playing an ambient noise outside the vehicle, let's do it in the most Italian way possible, right? So once you hit 20 and we pass that threshold, it plays a little drive-off tone for you, a little tune, so to speak. Just to put another little smile on your face that only Fiat does, right?
Oh.
It's all about the little moments with Fiats.
Okay.
I thought you were going to tell me like under 20, the pedestrian alert is like some guy's like opera singing or like.
That would be fantastic and it'd be fun, but the problem is that tone needs to be a constant. Yeah. So if we had an opera tone, unless you held that note for 20 seconds or 20 miles an hour, that'd be tough.
I mean, it's possible.
That's an over-the-air. You're just an over-the-air update.
I'm going to take a note of that one.
That would be like,
We'll do a special
notice he's not taking notes.
MotorTrend edition vehicle.
The Pavarotti note would be great.
Track-only version.
Yeah.
All right, so what else we got here? I'm just trying to go through some of these. What is oh, you said it's going to get either a level 2 charging or public charging credits. Who's your level 2 charger charging unit maker? Your own?
So within our enterprise, we have an arm called Free to Move, and Free to Move does both mobility solutions and charging solutions as well.
Okay.
So we'll talk about subscriptions at some point in the future and charging. And through Free to Move, we can offer an L2 charger for your home. So we talked about earlier a simple product plan. When you go onto the Fiat Live Store, for instance, right now, and you build your car, there's really two options. It's what charger do you want? Do you want charging credits or do you want a charger for your home? And then after that, it's do you want summer tires or do you want all season tires? That's about it.
Those are the options. Yeah. So that, in other words, if you don't have a home charger, you can get one. Or if you live in an apartment where you can't get a home charger, then obviously you want the charging credits.
And we're already seeing from our pre-order holders, 70% of them are taking the charger.
Okay.
So we still don't know exactly because we're not asking, hey, do you live in a home or do you live in a place that doesn't have access to a charger? Some people may already have an EV at home and don't need another charger, but it's a higher take rate than I certainly suspect.
What's the approximate value?
Real quick. Or you're going from a Tesla, which has a different type of charger, to is yours? I assume it's CCS.
It's CCS right now. Yeah. I would anticipate people would just buy the adapter instead at that point, rather than changing out the entire wall box. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, so what's the equivalent sort of monetary value of the either? Because I expect it the same, right? It's the charger cost X, and you'll get X amount of charging credits, essentially?
Yeah, we'll announce that number here in the short couple of weeks because we're negotiating the final terms with all of our partners because the app is going to be the Free to Move aggregate app. So if you're familiar with other type of charging solutions like PlugShare, for instance, what we're doing is we're creating an app that's going to aggregate all of our charging partners into one place and only use one credit card to use it.
And does this get folded into, and I forget the name of it, I'm sorry, the alliance that was announced?
IONNA? IONNA is kind of independent of that. So that will be rolled up into IONNA at some point in the sense that IONNA will be a network that's on that solution as well. But IONNA itself is just an exciting announcement by us and 6 other major automakers.
We're excited. No. We're as an EV owner.
I also will say thank you so much for being the first person to pronounce what I previously thought was IONNA or IONNA. IONNA?
That's my understanding. Is it's IONNA.
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 Yeah. Ion North America. IONNA.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know the CEO, the new guy?
I haven't met him. No.
Okay, let's get to know him because we need to get him on this podcast to talk, to scream at him.
Okay,
so what you're saying? So what you're saying is
Ed's on fire.
He's not as nice as I thought he was.
He's terrible.
Lightly caffeinated. So Free to Move will include like charging systems we all know. Like, will it
Safe to
like
say, yeah.
electrify America?
Yeah,
and-
safe to say it's going to be a lot of
Indigo?
the large charging networks that you know about.
Okay. And I mean, roughly speaking, level 2 charging unit. This is somewhere between like
They're $700.
$750 to $1,000 cash value to the consumer.
Probably a little bit less.
Oh, okay.
Probably a little bit less, yeah.
All right.
We buy in scale.
Okay. So let me let's do the math here. So if it's got 150-mile range, it's a 42 kilowatt-hour battery charging.
We got to do the math right now.
At the most expensive, what would be what would be a fill up of this car at an Electrify America station?
If it's like, let's say 50 cents a kilowatt, just to make it easy to do the math, and you're adding like 100 kilowatts, that's like $50.
Okay, so 42 kilowatt hour. Yeah.
No, 42 kilowatts. So yeah, it would be
It'd be
way
$25.
less.
So
Yeah,
$22 to
yeah.
fill
Sorry,
up from
my
zero.
math is terrible.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So if it's like, let's say it's $500 in credits, that's a fair amount of fill-ups.
Yeah.
Probably get you through it.
And I'm trying to think too, like when I got my
Included in the
truck,
price.
Included in the price.
Yeah, when I got my truck, I want to say that to get a charger was like a $400 option or something like that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Only 2 more talking points to get through. Like, what is Fiat Pass? What is this thing?
So Fiat Pass is a really fun one for us. Everyone talks about social media and digital and this, that, and the other, and you forget about the other forums that exist, other spaces within digital that exist, like Discord, for instance. So what we wanted to do was kind of embrace the creative side of a lot of our Fiat audience. We know a lot of people that love the brand and drive the vehicles are creatives at heart. So what we decided to do was let's leverage the Web3 community and let's leverage NFTs, which I know people don't talk about much anymore, digital collectibles. But what we did was we issued a Fiat 500 and Fiat digital collectible, and if you purchased one, then you were able to get in line essentially to get an early order of a vehicle. So we offered 550 mints of our digital collectible and sold out in 2 weeks, under 2 weeks.
Okay.
I've stopped paying attention to the NFT market, but I
feel like
think
this is something-
but like crypto, everyone wrote it off. Now Bitcoin's back to 52,000 a coin. So like maybe don't write off NFTs.
Well, don't write off
completely.
anybody, right? There's markets all over the place, and we democratize mobility as a brand. That's what we do, and we want to be accessible for everybody, and we want to embrace everybody's interests.
I'll say this in the nicest way possible. This sounds like the U.S. execution of the plan that started in 2020 when NFTs and crypto was super hot, and the vehicle was starting to be on sale in Europe.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I looked today, like Ethereum's over 3,000 for the first time in years. So it's like, and everyone had written it off, and now smart money is now dumping into it. So who knows with NFTs? But moving on,
All part of the conspiracy. Okay,
Fiat
lastly,
House.
Fiat House. This sounds wild. You're building a residential property with 300 rental residencies with hospitality-driven amenities, concierge, community events. I assume cool places to park your Fiat 500e and charge it.
It's really cool. The location's amazing, right? It's just on the other side of the GW Bridge in New Jersey, just across. It's in Fort Lee, so right across from Manhattan. 150 million people drive past it a year. It's a fantastic location.
Well said.
And it's another way for us to remind everybody of how relevant our brand is when we've got a real estate developer that reached out to us to say, hey, would you put your name on a residence? And we want to help you have people live the Fiat brand. And we thought that was an awesome opportunity. So
It's a big ass apartment building.
Yeah.
And it's got
it's
Fiat logo on top or something.
It will, yeah, absolutely.
It's painted red and green.
It's
red,
not
white,
painted
green.
red. It's got some colors on it.
Okay.
And it's actually the sign's going up very soon. So we'll send you some photos of that. But what's cool about that is just like our vehicles that are, without greenwashing, is sustainably focused. You've got a repurpose of one building, and then they built a new building next to it. So there's a really cool story there of how do you take a building that already existed that was a commercial asset, turn it into something residential, and then add to it in terms of amenities. And it's, for me, it was cool because the parallel exists in the vehicle. Like the 500e Red, for instance, has recycled ocean plastic as the yarn in the seat. So the tie-in of like, okay, you took an existing building and then you turned it into residences, and then you built another building next to it too, which is great. And then it's kind of sprinkled throughout with some history of Fiat, if you will, in the hallways and whatnot.
It's interesting because I know like Aston Martin has the Aston Martin residences, I think in Manhattan and Miami, And I feel like somebody else built a house somewhere or something like that. But it's
There's a few.
interesting.
Yeah, Miami, Dubai's got a few.
No.
they've
I meant
announced.
there's another brand that like I can't remember who another luxury like Bentley
Mercedes
or
did
something.
one, Bentley, Bugatti,
Yeah.
Porsche's got one in Miami.
Okay, so there's this trend of like European automakers like building. It's very like Bauhaus. It's very
Well, hang on. So this
collective.
company, Unlimited, who
Yeah.
who loves only the vowel U, comes to you guys, and does this cross? You're the head of North America. Does this like hit your desk, or is there somebody in like Stellantis biz dev that's like, cool, Fiat, great?
This goes straight to the CEO of the Fiat brand, which is Olivier Francois, and finding the
We know
opportunities.
Olivier, yeah.
Finding the right opportunities to amplify the brand across the states. And again, it's an opportunity. People ask all the time, like, what's Fiat's plan for the U.S.? I mean, we're putting our name on residences. We're not going anywhere. So this is another way to establish
Well, that's
just
a
who we
great
are.
way to transition to. All right, so what's after the city car?
All right, PR guys, you got to leave. No.
Yeah,
But like, okay, you don't have to say like the model name or anything, but like what
When are we getting
like,
the Panda? That's
What
what I wanna know.
segments? What obviously you're not going to be a one car make
Right.
in the U.S.
No,
You
that's
have
certainly
plans?
not the plan. That's certainly not why I was brought in, not why I would accept a job, obviously.
Ah,
So the way we look
I
at
like
this,
that.
the way
That's
we
well
look at this
said,
is,
yes.
first of all, Fiat is the largest by volume brand of Stellantis. So we've got 14 brands. We sold 1.35 million cars last year.
Fiat did.
Fiat did. It's one of 3 OEMs that's actually larger outside of its home region than within it because of the Latin American market, APAC,
Right.
and whatnot.
Right. Well, I was going to say I was bigger than Ram, so that's much bigger than Ram. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's when you've got that kind of toolbox to work with, there are a lot of options for you in the future. And you're going to start seeing some of these options manifesting in a few short days, even through some teasers that are starting to come out.
Well, this doesn't air till like the end of March. This
Yeah.
episode. So
Oh,
if
then you will
want
have already seen them.
You want to break some news here?
Yeah.
No. I mean, no. Our brand is. I mean, we've got a lot of awesome product that's in the pipeline globally and in Europe, and we're going to try to leverage a lot of that for the U.S. We're going to be smart in how we do it. We know who we are. We know what Fiat is. I mean, Fiat's 125-year-old brand that was designed to democratize mobility way back in the day. The 500e, 67 years old, came out after the war to help put people
the
back.
500, not the E.
Yeah, sorry, 500. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But the 500 came out
Yeah.
after the war to put people back on the road, help them park in roads that were
In
damaged.
Rome. Yeah.
So, our plan is we're going to be focused on the city market, and we're going to be focused on affordability in a really cool, chic, and stylish way that only we can do.
And it's interesting because, I mean, America's just such a weird place at the moment, but like, as much, there's this new, not new, but there's, the anti-EV narrative seems to be getting stronger, but it's coming from like rural places, but in America, like the rural places are shrinking population-wise and the cities are growing. So like bringing in a brand focused on the city seems like a real smart idea from a business point of view.
Well, the timing's interesting, right? And it's not just, I mean, what you pointed out is absolutely accurate.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting about it is there's this conversation about, well, it's hard for me to make my road trip from here to San Francisco in an EV.
Right.
We're talking about city cars.
Yeah.
And that's what our focus as a brand is how do we help city commuting and transportation?
Right.
And when you do that, you're talking about utilizing a battery in a really smart and intelligent way. We're not carrying a massive battery. We were talking about this earlier in the day. It's like, mass begets mass.
Sure.
When you have a bigger battery in it, you're increasing the amount of battery you need to actually haul that same battery.
Yep.
With a 42 kilowatt hour battery, you don't really have that problem. Right. So we're optimizing as much of our battery as possible for smart use cases and errands when you get around town.
Yeah. Look, the classic problem with America is you're still going to run into, we don't have trained, if you're outside of the Northeast corridor, we don't have, if you want to go from Detroit to Chicago, you got to drive. And it was just, that's how the country's been set
You
up.
can take a train.
I don't know
It's not
anyone
the
who's
best
ever
of
done
experience.
that. Yeah.
I've done it once. It's it's about a 6-hour Amtrak ride.
They do
Yeah.
the journalist train to the Chicago Auto Show.
I mean,
And everybody gets,
who's they? You mean
gets
those three
drunk.
weirdos do
Yeah.
that? Yeah, exactly.
Well, the Chicago Show.
But but it is, it's just, they're always, it's like Europe, obviously, and other parts of the world, wonderful train infrastructure. So you can, hop from city to city, or Ryanair type things where you can, easily get from city to city, and no one drives their cars long distance. Not no one, but it's, it's just the inverse of what's here. So,
all right,
so always having that problem, but.
let me just bring it back to this vehicle just for a hot second, because I we did go through all the corporate provided talking points here. I do want to rake you over the coals a little bit, but let me just confirm, because I read our own stories on it.
Why do you want to do that?
You guys have.
Where's the restroom?
You guys have. In Europe, there's been the red edition, and there's the Bulgari edition, and there was a couple of other.
So the Bulgari and Cartel and Armani, those were one-off vehicles that we did back in 2020 when the vehicle was introduced.
Yeah.
We actually just auctioned those vehicles off at Art Basel in 2023,
Right.
and they sold for $600,000 combined.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they did really well, and that money went towards the Reweld Foundation, which is co-chaired by Leonardo DiCaprio. So that money went to good cause.
No. Well, there's only one 500e model coming. Is that right? Or is there any?
That is not correct.
Okay.
But so we want to kind of flip how we introduce vehicles on its head a little bit. And,
Okay.
and part of what we want to do at Fiat is stay relevant with the times. A lot of people that are buying our cars, just as they buy other vehicles, they're shopping online, for instance. We're going to enable that as well through what we call the Fiat Live Store, which is an online way to actually buy directly from a dealer. So we're helping the dealers sell cars online through a national model that we have that we can help manage for them to keep their costs down and in line. And as part of that, what we want to do is we really want to simplify our model strategy. So the thought is, let's try to model industries that do this already, and we're going to drop models or types of vehicles throughout the year. So right now, the first vehicle we launch, our core vehicle that's always going to be around, is the 500e Red in partnership with our amazing partners, the Red organization.
Right.
So that vehicle is available in 3 colors, tuxedo black, glacier white, and red by red. And then we're going to shortly announce, by the time this comes out, they'll probably already hear what the other drops will be. But we'll continue to introduce new animations of the vehicle that go after different demographics and different types of people that have different interests.
It's like a sneaker drop kind of.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, I get it. Good. Now for some hard questions. 32.5 for an EV that does 149 or 162 if you're like on the brakes in the city. How are you going to sell more than a handful of these when I can go today and get a Tesla Model 3 pretty close? I can definitely get a used Model 3 for like mid-20s. Go.
Another good car. You got nothing against them. Totally different type of car, right? I mean, if you're looking at a Fiat 500e, if you're looking at a Fiat in general, yes, you may be coming from a Tesla. You might think of a Tesla, but we're talking about a car with a ton of character, a ton of Italian flair and design. That's not something that a typical Tesla buyer is looking to get in their car. So yes, if we're making a strictly cerebral purchase just based on price, there's going to be people that shop other vehicles. But we know people that buy our cars are into different hobbies. And that's why the drop strategy kind of ties into that, because these are people that are fashion conscious. They're in the know. They're probably checking their Instagram all the time, like I do, unfortunately.
Yeah, we all do. It's addictive. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a car for the culture of people that, see and want to be seen, and they want to have something that actually exemplifies who they are and helps personify who they are. So that's what that's what this car really does. Is it's a car for you as a person. It shows you as an individual, and it's not just mass transportation.
Are you buying this, Jonny?
That was a good answer. I thought it was a good answer.
You didn't answer the question.
Well, no, I did answer. Look, the thing
didn't,
is,
I said.
no, look, I mean, my thing is like, if you only go by price, then there are people that shop that way. But there's a lot of people that don't shop that way, So now what I would say is, and that's why I was asking, is there any difference between the European one? Like if it launched in 2020 and there's no difference, so you're bringing a car that's got 4-year-old technology to market, and so that to me is just because the EV world is changing so fast, and I'm just I just pay attention to what the leaders in the space are doing in terms of technology. To your point, they're real expensive, and this is not really expensive, so maybe that's how you keep the price down. But that would
from a technology standpoint, though. I mean, going back to where I started my career at FCA at the time, call it Stellantis now if you'd like, it was in technology, in vehicle technology specifically, and we've done our best to load this car with all the tech you can get. So what we want to make sure is when you buy this vehicle, you're buying the right equipment It's got the wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Alexa built in, wireless charging, the largest radio you can get, the 10.25-inch screen compared to an old 5-inch radio in the old vehicle. So when you get it, it's got all the tech. It's got the
Uconnect
OTA
5,
updates.
which we like.
Yeah,
We
no,
like-
I didn't
we
mean
like
that kind of
Uconnect.
tech. I meant the battery tech. I meant the EV tech
Yeah.
is 4 years old.
But again, I mean, if it's 4 years old in a European cycle, that typically means that there's going to be an update coming, and given economies
fair.
of
Yeah,
scale,
yeah,
that
yeah.
we'll be able to leverage those.
Okay.
Okay. These special editions that are dropping, like sneakers, are they going to be anything more? And again, respectfully, I didn't phrase it that way. Are they going to be like paint jobs and cool interior bits, or will there be? Is there like a 500e Abarth coming or something like that? Is there anything like a high performance like tweak coming?
Nobody wants a 500e Abarth more than I do. I had the opportunity to drive that car in October and fell in love with it. Even the things I thought were going to be kind of cheesy about it, like the sound that it made, you fell in love with it because it helps you understand how fast you're actually going when you're whipping through the mountains in Turin, for instance. Hopefully no Turin police are listening.
Nah, statute of limitations.
But by the same token, I mean, the car we have, and once you guys drive it, you'll kind of appreciate it too. From a handling perspective, it already handles amazing. And all it's going to take is a set of tires to really put you in the right frame of mind. So it's something we're going to continue to study. Obviously, different versions of the vehicle. But no, to answer your question, I mean, the drops will kind of range. So there will be specific color combinations, but then there's going to be some really, really intriguing collaborations with really prominent design houses that we'll also bring in.
What about a Storado WRC version, lifted knobby tires? Have you guys thought about that way? Come on.
It's funny you say that, but no,
Four
not
car.
planned at all. But
Come
that's
on.
definitely something that I look at and go, you talk about the ultimate urban vehicle,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah,
Right. And
well,
it's something that I
especially with
brought up.
our inability to fix potholes in this town.
Have you been to Detroit?
Hey, I have been to Detroit. Yes.
Your roads are silk compared to ours.
Some of our roads, but when you get to the neighborhood, they
rains.
don't fix them. My street, not fixed. What's the cadence of these drops? How frequently are you thinking about?
In a manner that it makes sense. Obviously, we're not shoes. We're not going to be able to fly them over here at an overnight basis. So there is a little bit more manufacturing complexity that goes into it from a supply chain standpoint.
But like quarterly?
That's the intent. Yeah.
Okay.
Quarterly or at least biannually for sure.
Okay.
So, like I said, you'll hear something soon.
Okay.
Or
All right,
you
more-
will have heard it shortly after this podcast.
We'll update read the story attached to this. We'll put all the updates in.
Yes, MotorTrend.com.
Okay.
we've already hinted one in a video that we did with J-Lo recently.
Oh,
J-Lo edition.
Now
Okay.
I have my reason to go look up J-Lo. Okay. Question. Hard question.
You mean
Do
your new reason?
My new reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you? She's got the same last name.
Yeah.
Do you guys? Hey, can you sit in the back seat when you're driving? Comfortable.
That would be hard for me to test. I can tell you.
But I mean, set the seat. Like if
Yeah.
you set the seat where it is.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
fine.
No, I mean,
That was a good answer.
the answer is yes. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that, oh, I'm happy to drive from here
Sure.
to San Francisco riding in the back seat. But absolutely in a pinch. I mean, we just did it earlier today. When, unfortunately, Mr. Kappa sat in the back seat, but it's absolutely serviceable.
Okay.
It's not going to crush your legs. You don't need to be a child to sit in the back seat.
Well,
You can
let me
fit.
tell you, because you're a parent of a
Yeah.
10-month-old, and you have a new one coming on the way. This is my brother.
Sorry, honey, I spilled the beans.
Sorry. Hey, congrats.
Yeah.
My brother used his for where his newborn, and the coolest option, you can load the kid from the back.
Oh, I got to try that.
Yeah, you pop it and you just load him in and strap him in from the back of the tailgate.
I'm going to go
back.
home and try that.
Yeah, so there
That's
you go.
interesting.
Yes.
Because my daughter's
Totally
still in a rear-facing seat.
There you go. Totally safe.
So I could only fit the rear-facing seat in the back with a 3+1 European car. That's not coming here.
Right.
But now I'm going to try that tactic that you're mentioning.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? On
Well,
the 500 before we
on the
move
500. I mean, yeah, it's one. Let's drive it, and then we'll talk more about it. But I
Yeah,
want to talk about.
when can we drive it?
Oh yeah, good. That's good.
When do they come into
Yeah.
the fleet?
Yeah. So we're.
Oh, there's an event coming up.
There is an event coming up.
Yes.
You'll be hearing this in late March of 2024. So
We will have driven it
You will
already.
potentially
No.
be heading to an event.
okay,
Okay.
cool. I'll be heading to Japan. I'll be in Japan.
And then subsequently,
We sell them in Japan too.
Oh yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
subsequently vehicles will be.
We'll set you up with a
fleet
rental in
shortly.
Japan.
So, but I want to talk more about like future Fiat plans, if you can, a little bit.
As you're drawing like a cold fusion diagram
That's
over
right.
here.
That's right. No, doodling helps you retain information. You see those studies, yeah. Is Fiat going to ever bring anything that's not electric to the U.S.?
It's a good question. I would love to tell you I can predict the future. I can tell you based on the plan that we've got right now, as I said earlier, our plan is to democratize as much electric mobility as we can. Okay. So the plan right now is let's keep focusing on electrification. Yes, if dynamics change dramatically,
sure,
we're a car company. We're going to adapt too.
Yes.
But by the same token, as we've all heard, one of the biggest problems with electrification in the migration transition to electrification is affordability. Yeah. And if we can do anything, we want to solve that problem for people.
Got it. So what is the Fiat product cadence, which I know you can't get into specifics, but like you said, just focusing on city vehicles is going to be Fiat's niche in North America?
I don't want to say just city, but let's say vehicles that aren't. I'm not looking to grow into massive segments. We're not going to produce a full-size truck, for instance. We're not going to produce an E-size sedan.
Right. So, but like a small SUV would be a logical thing to sell in the U.S. where, like most of our American car companies don't even make cars anymore.
But, I mean, it's funny you say that, right? Because there's also different iterations of a car itself you can do in terms of raised vehicles. So you can still have a fastback look. You can still make it look like a coupe, but raise it a little bit, and it appeals to new demographics. So, yeah, there's all sorts of things that we're studying. But I would say from a segmentation standpoint, we certainly aren't going to go too large. But body shape, yeah, up for debate.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into your background if we can. If we pivot a little bit, since we're about halfway through here. But I got a lot of questions.
Yeah. Okay. Like we said, Ed's a LinkedIn stalker.
Well, one is you got your start at Campbell Ewald back in 2007 to 2010, working on some brand called Chevy, midsize car. We did this wild ass road trip back then in a Malibu. I don't know if did you we did the See the USA and the Chevrolet Malibu. We drove all four corners of the lower 48 and the center of the country. Does this all ring a bell at all?
I remember that tagline. I was focused mostly on Corvette, Camaro, motorsports. So getting our Monday win ads ready after NASCAR, which was fun.
Right. Okay.
So working on Sundays for those races, and then digital as well. And that's right when this thing called the web was really taking off. And we were trying to coincide with long form social media pages like the MySpace and Facebook.
Oh, yes.
Big.
So we were changing this whole approach of having multiple tabs and clicking through a website to just one long running website.
Okay. All right. That was first shot and miss. Second, I don't know what CompuWare is, but come on, 10 months.
CompuWare, if you've ever watched old Corvette Le Mans, you would see they were sponsored.
Yes.
Yeah, so CompuWare was massive in the late 90s and early 2000s because they helped with the Y2K transition of mainframe technology.
You got poached.
Right.
You're like, we want that smart digital guy at the agency.
Well, I wish I could say that. I mean, what happened was, if you're remembering that time frame, it was right when the big three were going through a really hard transion during the Great Recession.
Hard. That's a friendly way to put it. Yeah, and PC way to put it. Yeah.
And at that time, basically the government was trying to do their best to help shape an auto company. So really getting involved in a piece of the business that they didn't necessarily have the best grasp on.
Right.
And they basically said, hey, they've been your advertising agency for 91 years. You need to show change. You should find a new advertising agency.
Right.
So at the time, Campbell Ewald had some other big accounts like the U.S. Navy and the USPS. And they said, hey, do you want to work on USPS? And I said, I really like cars and not necessarily mail.
They drive cars. Yeah.
So I started looking for my next gig. I had an opportunity to go to Chicago and work on big tobacco for Philip Morris, something that
fun,
from an automotive standpoint,
Healthy.
I was like, oh, cool, Formula One, Marlboro. And I was like, probably not the best thing to do. So I stayed local and I started working at CompuWare, thinking I could get into some sponsorship stuff for racing. Didn't happen.
Right.
Okay.
And while I was there, I bumped into a friend of yours a few times, Mr. Ralph Gilles.
Oh, we know Ralph. Yeah.
And I met him years prior when I was valet parking cars in college. And we bumped into each other one day go-karting and just being a car enthusiast.
Did you beat him?
No chance.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good at that whole.
You just say that you did. And
I mean, I can't even lie about it, man. Okay. He's faster than me. He's better looking than me. I can't beat him.
He's a handsome man. Yeah, he's a handsome man. And he's not aging, which is really annoying.
Yeah, I got to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know.
So did he help you get the Uconnect gig or mention
In a
you
way,
there?
yeah. So we were go-karting one day and we were talking about something and he was asking me about, he thought I was still in advertising for Chevrolet and I started talking about what I'm doing now and he's like, "Wait, you're not in the automotive industry anymore?" He's like, "No." And he goes, "Send me your resume."
Nice.
So,
Good for Ralph. Good
so
job.
then, so he helped me get that was like on a Friday. I whipped together a resume really quickly for automotive on a Saturday.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got a call by HR on Monday and I came into the Uconnect team and interviewed with them, and it was kind of an interesting background, right? Talk about technology and cars, and at that time, there wasn't a whole lot going on with in-vehicle technology.
What year was this?
This was 2011, 2010,
11.
2011.
Is that
right. So
Uconnect
Uconnect
1?
had just launched.
Uconnect, the original 8.4-inch touchscreen was
that had
just launching.
Because I remember that I remember Ralph. That was when I was really.
The OG Uconnect.
That's when I got really impressed with Ralph. Was you guys had big. It was like the relaunching of Chrysler in San
300
Francisco.
and Charger.
But it was like Ralph standing like on pier whatever in front of a giant American
Look at that,
flag,
look at
kind of
like
like
this.
Superman. Yeah. And
I do not remember that
Oh
photo.
yeah, that's a picture.
I was in the photo. It was
I
a
will
live
save that
event.
as
No, I was
context.
sitting there and Ralph walks out. And it's just like
Just
Bald eagle on his
it's
shoulder?
not that we're all hot on Ralph. I mean, we are, but it's our copy. Like we have a couple of over the years female copy editors because we always did the power list, and they're like, "Put that guy Ralph on the power list."
No, but I remember.
Yes.
I remember we suddenly it was like I had 10 cars to drive and write about. It was like when I just started MotorTrend.
That's when we did the
It was a
big hits.
nightmare, professionally speaking. But I remember it was like the first time I was interacting with Uconnect. I was like, hey, this is actually really good.
Yeah, that was
You know.
that was right on the heels of all the infusion that came from basically Fiat and Fiat Group. Right after the merger, if you will, of Chrysler Group and Fiat Group.
Right.
So that was kind
What
of
was great? Cerberus?
Cerberus, a three-headed dog that
Right.
guards the gates of hell.
Right.
Totally great.
I think we were on the
great-
opposite side of that gate.
Yes. What a great mascot. All right.
I mean, it'd be a good product. Like this is the Dodge, and what's the Beyond the Demon?
Cerberus.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
think that's going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
I'm
So
just
you-
saying. I'm just
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been.
Yeah.
If you're listening at home, you're like, what are you guys talking about? Uconnect?
Yeah.
You bunch of dorks. Look, Uconnect, it will go down in history. I'm not blowing smoke because your time was only there 2 years. That was a long time ago. But Uconnect
It was more than 2 years. It was kind of there, then I went back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uconnect, arguably one of the most competitive from an OEM perspective.
Oh, totally. No, it would.
in-car,
We had
whole
we
thing.
being the zeitgeist, the collective unconsciousness of automotive journalists, had written off Chrysler completely. Then the bankruptcy hit, and we just thought it was going to be garbage. And I remember after we all that press trip, after we all drove it, like sitting around, like, damn, that was really good. Like that was that works, and that's big. And it big and works because there was big and didn't work, and there was small. Like Ford had, I remember.
Sync.
Yeah, like there was one sync though. I remember I put a credit card up, and it was the size of the screen was the size of a credit card.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is come
Oh, you're
on,
right.
guys.
You remind me of how scarred we were by some of the
Yeah.
Chrysler just the product
Oh,
prior
yeah.
to this, which
Oh.
was what was the one that replaced the
Caliber.
neon? Yes.
I knew exactly where you're going.
But
with
I
that.
mean, look, Nitro
With-
Journey. I mean,
Oh no, but I remember just trying to sell
Yeah.
the Caliber, the tarted up one, and I was like, dude, the plastics are like the inside of a refrigerator.
yeah, it was, look, that
And,
was
like,
that was
it's
Mercedes
hard.
divorce
And this
mess. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
shifter, and I was like, wow.
No, but we had written it off, and that I remember that relaunch was like really impressive.
But let's talk about
One of
this.
the most sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
but one
yeah,
of the most
please.
compelling things about that, though, was like right when I started, and I was like, "Oh, it's a great looking radio." And then we were sitting in these meetings, and I'm hearing all of our engineers and software engineers. It was like one of the first times we actually brought in a ton of software engineers to help with this.
right.
And that radio had more lines of code than the spaceship did, the space shuttle.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Yeah.
we're putting that in a car, guys. I mean, you talk about complexity and work that we've never done.
But it worked.
It worked, and
That's the
and
crazy
that was the
part,
best part
yeah.
for us is like and when we'd go around and show journalists about it, show the radio, the hardest thing to do at that time was actually be simple because everybody was looking for animations and.
But it
how do
was
you do this?
simple, but it was big and simple, and it worked. And that was like, and like Sync did not. I don't remember.
We had a
anything else
fixed
at the
menu bar
time.
across the bottom, which we
Right.
still use to this day
Right,
because
right,
a lot of the radios you'd jump into a different page and you would completely
move
get
around.
lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we had redundant controls. Too.
And again, I mean, like even like BMW, which has like wonderful tech on one hand. Let's just singling them out. Mercedes has the same problem. there's like it's impossible to navigate. Like you just get lost, and then they go, "Oh, just use voice control," which doesn't really work in any car yet. So I'm always a big fan of Uconnect just because like it always worked.
Well,
and was
Uconnect is
easy
for
to
people
use.
who have eyes.
Yeah,
They put big graphics.
No,
like
yeah.
oh look, they actually paid attention to the thumbnails.
Yeah.
Like hey, we're gonna put a cool picture of the album on this one, and you can scroll through and look at the other one. It's like this is awesome. All right, but let's move on.
Okay, sure.
Because your next critical position. I think you reported to Ralph is this at SRT brand marketing.
Oh,
You must have killed it at Uconnect because then you got SRT brand marketing manager, product brand marketing manager product brand manager for SRT Charger and Challenger and 300.
And 300, yeah. So that was talk about a dream job, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You're working on. I mean, again, I absolutely love infotainment and the radios and the tech that goes with it because it's a way for us to connect to our vehicles, right? Outside of that, unless you're driving a manual, it's really hard to connect to a vehicle. So at that point, when that job got posted, I'm like, oh, I got to apply for this. And I went through the interview process, and it's just an absolute dream job. And it was the first meeting was, okay, there's a GT 500. We want to compete with it. And we've got this killer powertrain that's coming.
It's funny you say because I was about to say when I close my eyes and think Uconnect, it's the performance pages from the Hellcat screen because those are they're iconic. I mean, those are just the coolest.
Wait. Let's.
What do you mean? Wait. Stop waiting.
Those launched in 2011.
Yeah.
So all the SRTs had the performance pages, lateral G.
Yeah, but then when you went to
060
the
timers.
Hellcat, it was like.
Then we amplified it even crazier.
Can I ask a question if you remember this? I've always wanted to ask it. So the Hellcat famously was 707 horsepower when it first came out.
We teased it.
The eco mode was 505, which is exactly what the Z06 at the time, that was its max output, that was intentional, yes?
I'll be honest with you, that's probably a question for the engineers because we just basically turned off a bank.
Okay, because it was like I always thought that was like
It
that's
became
such a nice dagger to the throat. Like
it became a four-cylinder.
Yeah. But our eco mode is max output of the biggest thing Chevy was doing at the time.
I'm getting to this. You'll love this.
Okay.
Your time at SRT starts in 2014, right? And that's when we had famously the Viper TA fiasco.
I may or may not recall that at the New York Auto Show. I think you guys did a podcast with Ralph at the New York Auto Show.
Yeah. It wasn't a podcast, video, but
Yeah. So, was that? Were you there for this whole?
Well, remember, it didn't start as a fiasco. It started as a really good thing.
Yeah.
And then it became a fiasco.
The whole brouhaha with the Viper, or does that ring a bell at all? Or
has enough time passed? Scott, has enough time passed?
I think I recall something. I remember a Viper TA, and I remember you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
The TA was good. There was a white one that was a problem.
Yeah, I mean that's still a car I want to add to my collection. I mean, an orange TA is just
the orange TA, and then there was that the silent and never got any press. The TA
2.0, yeah.
2.0 was so. I drove one of those in Virginia City Hill Climb. My friend let me drive his for a second.
Well, he's not forthcoming. We had a little. Well, you can go back and listen to the Ralph episode where afterwards he said he wanted to strangle us because he brought up.
Oh, I can't even. If I told anyone what he said to me one night.
Yeah.
I could be a wealthier man. Anyways.
So then you bounced over back to Uconnect, and then
I mean that was a time where SRT folded back in under the Dodge brand.
Yep.
So there was a consolidation happening. And lo and behold, at that time, the Uconnect team was actually looking to grow globally because Uconnect really was a North American market product. And as FCA was continuing to grow, we started looking at areas of focus and expertise and said, hey, this radio infotainment stuff's working really well in the U.S. How do we grow that into the Italian products and the European products?
Right.
So I was supposed to do a 2-year stint in Turin, and I was like, oh, how can I say no to this? When that transition's happening, it's like I can stay, but they've got so many good people on the Dodge brand already. And there was a lot of redundancy in the work that was happening there. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to Turin.
Yeah.
And I basically let them know that I was going to be going back so I can move. And then Mr. Marchioni at the time said, now these expats cost way too much money. So after I accepted, I didn't have a job anymore. So that I literally sat at a desk for a week while the Uconnect team figured out what they wanted to do. And we came up with a grand plan of how do we expand, centrally out of the North American market. And let's focus really heavily on marketing as well. And then connected services, which at that time were starting to take off too. So we needed to start having a platform to do connected services.
So this is great because at the time you probably didn't know that what you're doing is like going to be so big as this emergence with like software-defined vehicles, and you end up going through. And I'm just kind of speed up here. You ended up eventually at Harman for 4 years, which is one of a supplier to many large
Massive,
OEMs.
yeah.
All.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
I mean, they're on the Ferrari Formula One car on the side pod.
Right. But specifically, you're working obviously on the sort of the Stellantis business relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last gig that I had at FCA at the time was really cool because I got to work on software, apps, and services. So I was a product line manager for fleet, safety, security, performance apps, so like all the Dodge Performance Pages apps, and the EV apps. So working on the Fiat 500e app, for instance, getting ready for the Pacifica Hybrid, for instance. But then also the side project was, hey, how do we find really cool audio systems to put in the car?
Right.
So working with our great friends in the design office and the Jeep brand, came up with this idea of how do we find an iconic American brand to partner with Jeep, and that's where we came up with this really great relationship with Macintosh. So after I did that, I think the Harman team was like, hold on here.
Oh, so you did the Macintosh.
I was
Or you were
one.
part
I
of-
was
yes,
I
yes, yes,
was
not
a
you, yes,
member of a
yes,
team.
okay, because
in
that
absolutely.
I love. I mean,
Did you pick the color of the gauges?
No,
That's their
Macintosh.
color. I
Yeah,
mean,
Ed, come on.
listen,
no,
when
but I
that
thought they
keep
went
up,
green in
keep
the.
up.
They went like light
No, blue,
no?
blue.
I thought they had a different color for the color.
no,
The
car.
tubes grow glow green, but the Macintosh
correct. But the
meters are blue.
No, the meters are green and the logo is blue.
Zing.
Oh, logo, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I've talked about this a zillion
Yeah.
times,
I
but
know.
like friends of mine that are audiophiles,
Yeah.
when the Wagoneer first came out, I was showing that in the Grand Cherokee, I was showing them that. They're like, "No way, I got to buy that because of that." So
Yeah, it was
super
fun.
cool.
I mean, I get into some details here, but there was we had given the tier one partner to Macintosh at Durango, and we came back, and I was talking to the guys, and I'm like, is there any way we can improve the user experience too, so it doesn't just sound great, but how do we amplify what it looks like?
Visually, yeah.
And they're like, well, at CES we did this thing a couple of years ago where we took this basically skin. If you guys remember the old skins that used to have for MP3 players,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, there's a Macintosh app on Android that you can. I'm like, well, our radio is Android powered, so they put this awesome app onto the head unit. That's basically that Macintosh screen, which
Right.
takes over the entire radio, and it just looks absolutely
Oh,
epic.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that
that's
was just one of the fun things to do.
So
And-
you're in this interesting position because you worked at Harman. I mean, relatively recently, and I keep hearing that the evolution of software-defined vehicles, it actually has a lot of it started in audio, because that's for the longest time in the 80s and 90s the only as personal electronics and audio started to become Walkmans and Discman. That was actually the forefront of miniaturized electronics in the car. But the OEMs are like, all they care about is the upsell and that, oh, yeah, great, we'll just add another level of radio in there. We can make more margin. They did not think terribly much about the microchips. And then eventually, as the screens started to come in, the software component. And then now it's like the only thing anybody wants to talk about is how you can be more integrated. And you go from it just being like a head unit in a car to everything being sort of comprehensively designed and thought about. And this is a long segue into, you spent after Harman a year or so at AWS Alexa.
Amazon, yeah, smart
Amazon
vehicles.
at Alexa doing smart vehicles. Is that kind of the accurate take on how big this transition is to software-defined vehicles? Like it's
I look at it more broadly and say the really great thing about software-defined vehicles is at the end of the day, at their core, they're designed to actually improve the customer experience, because now you've got a vehicle that's starting to stay relevant with you, just like the device that you're holding in your hand does.
Right.
Right? I mean, we're so accustomed to carrying a phone and a laptop or whatever device you have, but when you look at your personal devices that you carry, they're constantly updated. And cars for a long time were pretty archaic in that sense. Once you bought them, that was kind of the best they were going to be, and you were done with it.
Yep.
A home you can renovate. There's, put new furnaces, HVAC, whatever you wanted to do. And that's what's really exciting about software-defined vehicles overall, is you have a way for your vehicle to actually kind of grow with you. And with over-the-air updates and everything that we're doing, it's a really exciting time for the industry as a whole, now that we've got cybersecurity in a much better place, obviously,
Sure.
to be ready for that transition, because it's an important one.
what did you like working at Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Amazon had some of the smartest people that you'll ever work with, right? It was a really cool place, and their leadership principles are phenomenal. To be able to take a step back and really just remind yourself that at the core, the customer comes before anything. And that's one of the things that we're instilling at Fiat too, right? Is when you look at this is we are a car company, sure, but we sell to customers. We need to make customers happy. So everything that we've done, whether it's doing the Fiat Live Store or what we're doing in drops, if you really think about it, everything's about what does a customer want to see? How do we make a customer happy? Where are the delights in what we're doing? And let's put them first and make customer centricity the core of everything that we do moving forward.
Did you bring any of those Amazon like habits? Like, do you ask people to like
The LPs.
Yes, the leadership principles. They're famously like, you're supposed to do like performance reviews like every like other month or something, and then when people write you an email, right?
No, but there were some really interesting things. I mean, and I've talked to our PR team about this. Like, what's really interesting about Amazon, and it's nice when you're valued that way. The projects start with something called a PR FAQ.
Yep. And
this is actually an amazing asset. So when you're coming up with a product or an idea, you actually write the press release for it. Okay. And the FAQs. And that's how you define the scope of what it is. And again, that's how you put the customer first. Yeah. After you do that and define the project, then you figure out the business case. It's kind of upside down of what a lot of other industries do, where you find a way to make money and then you figure out how to make a customer happy.
Right.
And that's what I loved about that was like, no. Make the customer happy, then the revenue follows.
We had a boss who was an Amazon guy, and
but when you were there, I mean, it was Amazon, but just at automotive, or was it
Alexa? Automotive.
Yeah, so the group that we were in, or I was in, was the partnership group for Alexa Automotive specifically.
But Alexa Automotive, yeah, because I was shocked. I mean, I kind of knew Amazon was getting into the car space, but we were at CES, and Amazon just wants to take over cars. I mean, they seem like they're just partnering with everyone
they're
and
a
everything.
massive company with a lot of reach, and you look at just overall what Alexa does cross-functionally, and how, you talked about earlier how voice has not been great in a vehicle.
No.
They're leaders in voice.
Sure.
So how do you take that technology and bring it into a vehicle?
But also, it was Amazon Web Services, all the over-the-air
software-defined vehicles
going through them. Yeah.
Did you work with any of those guys? Like we had a guy on here, Stefano Marzani. He's like the worldwide tech lead for software-defined vehicles. Another guy, Dean Phillips. Probably not. Different. Huge company.
Yeah.
And they're in AWS.
Dean Miles?
Dean Phillips. No.
Okay.
He's now at UI. How'd you get to this, the current gig, head of Fiat North America?
How'd you go from go-karting with Ralph to a CEO?
So the amazing thing, taking it back a little bit, the amazing thing about the Uconnect team at the time, and even to this date, is when you work on a product, you basically had internal customers. As somebody that kind of worked cross-functionally within all the different parts of the organization, I love my job because I literally worked with people in security to figure out how to get cars into the building and to do town halls. Like, for instance, when you came to present Mr. Mark Jonny with the Truck of the Year award.
Oh, man, you were there?
I was there for that, of course. So, I mean, when you work with a lot of people, you have a chance to meet a lot of people and understand what their business problems are.
Right.
And given my background and just, working in tech a little bit, working with customer experience, working on automotive, obviously. It was an interesting background. And again, from Olivier's standpoint and also from Mark Stewart's standpoint, who was also ex-Amazon, I think they were looking to take Fiat into a position where it could be a test and learn for the rest of the enterprise. How do you take a brand that at the time was going to be one vehicle, and how do you actually use that as an asset for the rest of the company? So what we're doing, and again, whether it's the sales models that we're doing, how we're introducing vehicles, what else can we do that's new and innovative with our 125-year-old brand that will teach the rest of the enterprise potentially some new tricks? And if we do slip up, frankly, we're not looking at a horrible outcome because at the moment we're one car. So we've got the opportunity to have a little bit more leash than a big brand would, for instance. You don't want to slip up if you're Ram or Jeep.
Sure.
You've got too much on the line.
So how did you get to who came knocking?
I can't get into all the details.
Oh, I don't know.
I got a phone call around Los Angeles Auto Show of 2023 after Mr. Francois did 2022. I'm sorry, he did a reveal that the brand was coming back, and literally in real time, I was getting phone calls one night while I was laying in bed at midnight saying, "Hey, you wanna interview for this gig? They're looking for somebody." And I was like, "Absolutely." I mean, and the brand to me is something that's meant a lot my whole life. So being a second generation Indian American dude, every time I'd go to India, I would land at the Bombay airport, Mumbai airport, and you knew you were in India when the door opened and you just felt the humidity. And then you walked outside and you saw a Fiat Millicento with your taxi. So to me, I mean, and with all of my family, today actually marks 3 years passing of my last grandparent. And I just constantly think back to seeing those cars on the road. And to me, that's a part of my childhood. So I just got really fond memories of the brand in that sense.
Okay.
Very cool.
Well, only because you mentioned it, and it's a personal point of vanity. How did I do at that speech with Marchione?
You rocked it, man.
Because I'm telling you, you laugh.
Yeah,
but
I
this
do
is,
laugh.
This
I'm
is the
pretty
one.
sure that was the only time that we had a third party
at Ed
come
is
in.
half my job.
No, but that was,
Sorry,
I think,
yeah.
the only time we ever had. I don't want to say third party. It sounds so clinical and
No,
sterile.
it's fine. We get
but we
it.
had somebody come in. We're like, hey, everybody in the company, come to Tech Plaza. All 15,000 people that worked in CTC. And
This
that
is
was
in
a big
Auburn
moment.
Hills. This is the second largest, I think, still maybe, or third largest.
It was the second largest single occupied office in the country. behind the Pentagon.
behind the Pentagon.
Yep.
And I got to go and give a speech, and you go to this Tech Plaza, and it's 5 stories.
Yeah.
It's like a mall, okay? It's like the biggest mall you can imagine.
Big atrium.
And they got big atrium, and Marchione.
Put a link to a photo of it.
I should.
There's got to be a photo.
I got a
of
photo.
It.
I got a photo
Yeah.
of me doing this at the podium, and Sergio told me, he's like,
I might even have a photo of you. I probably, if I look back at my old phones,
On
I'm
your
sure I got
BlackBerry?
something. It wasn't BlackBerry. Yeah.
Sergio said, we've only done 3 all hands
Yep.
here. First time was when we announced we're going into bankruptcy. Second, when we
Came out of
bankruptcy.
Paid off the loan. It was
Paid off
together.
the- yes.
Yep.
And now here, and I was like, oh,
No pressure.
God, don't tell me that.
Yeah. Well, luckily you're never awkward or strange.
Totally
so it
not.
must
I
have
think I
been-
made a joke about how Viper should have a bench seat, and Ralph was
what
like,
a great
the hell
joke.
he saying,
Yeah,
right?
what a great. Well, that's.
But I will say,
Amazing.
look,
Nervous energy.
I learned. I've subsequently learned a lot, and this is one of these things where, when you're going to give an award, especially when Truck of the Year or something like
That was a massive award at the time. I mean,
nobody
Well,
cares about you. They're just having an
brand,
award. I mean,
Ram
that's
brand
like
had
that's the
spun
thing. Like,
off from Dodge,
Yeah,
right? And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
our focus was how do we grow into the best truck brand in the world?
that was 2014, and then 2015 we went and we did it in the factory, which was also like super cool. Because I got to ride a golf cart with Sergio holding the trophy, like an idiot. Like,
But no, I mean, look, I remember very well. Like I remember we first time we drove that Ram, and we're like, wow, like
Yeah.
how did they do this? This is
Yeah.
really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
anyways,
still an amazing.
I
amazing
still
vehicle.
remember, go unnamed, but there was it was that because I think that was the year where the aluminum F-150 didn't get it.
oh yeah,
And Ford was like,
I got-
"How did this happen?" It was really
Got
they
roast-
came
got
their PR
roasted.
came down on us. Like,
Oh, dude.
what do you mean the Ram is better than the aluminum F-150? We're like,
Certain-
it's just lighter. It's not really a better truck.
certain guy related to a certain famous comedian in the back of our office, like with his finger in my face.
Yeah.
like not happy.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
awesome.
It was,
So, you're
yeah.
welcome.
Maybe
That
doing
was-
head of marketing job. At the
Yes,
time.
maybe.
Maybe something like that. Yeah.
Look, that was this. We have run out of time.
That was fast.
It was
Yeah,
fast.
it goes quick.
But hey,
good.
Uh,
But we want you back when there's more stuff to talk about. Because
Wow.
I feel like there was a little bit of evasiveness, and I know you're launching the brand. You can't say anything, but I want to. I'm always curious. Like,
Just like you're looking for a chapter 2.
Yeah.
We're looking for chapter 2 of our
good.
brand in this
Okay,
country. too.
great. 'Cause
All
It was really fun to talk to you, and it was really fun to have you.
we'll give you the
Likewise.
final word.
Oh,
Sell us.
Oh, yeah.
Sell
Sell me
everybody. Go. What's the take your best shot at why they should consider a 2024.
why they
Fiat.
should buy? Forget about
500.
considering. They
Okay,
should
fine.
buy one.
Buy a Fiat.
It honestly is. Coming from a person that's added it to my garage, we already had 2 vehicles in our house. I've added it as another vehicle to the garage, outside of the toys, obviously. When you think about an electric vehicle, it's the perfect use case to me. And I'm being completely sincere when I say this. If I'm running to the grocery store, I always laugh at the analogy of you go to Whole Foods or a grocery store and you see somebody walk out with like milk, bananas, and cereal, and they put it in the back of their massive stretch SUV.
Yeah.
And there's so many better ways to get around. And being a father now, and I'm not trying to turn this into a whole greenwashing thing, but
Go
being
ahead,
a father,
greenwash.
being a father of a 10-month-old, I mean, I think differently, right? I want to do our part to make sure that we do leave the planet in a better place. And what better way to then essentially use a battery in the right way it was designed to be? So we're not putting a massive battery in a vehicle just to get from A to B. We're finding interesting ways to get around. And beyond that, just selfishly, it's fun as hell to drive. I mean, I love the fact that it handles great. It's got a low center of gravity. It drives better than my Abarth did, which pains me to say because I love that car so
Whoa.
much. Once you drive it, you'll see it. I'm being honest about this. It drives great. It's going to be a car that surprisingly will put a smile on anyone that drives it face.
Look, I'll just say this: everyone I know that had a 500e, the old one, loved it. Like there was no one who didn't like the thing. So
Well, what toys do you have in your garage? Because you mentioned just so people have an understanding of.
So
Or
the
you can talk about. You
the
don't have to tell them
first
all.
thing I did when I came back to the company was put my name down for a 6-speed manual Hellcat wide body.
Okay.
Because that was scratching that itch of the car I worked on.
Sure.
And I wanted to have one of the last manuals ever made.
Sure.
So for me, I'm an analog guy. I'm a car guy. So when I say all this stuff, I'm not BSing people. I really believe in the 500 as a car person, first and foremost. If I didn't, I wouldn't have taken the job, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Look, the narrative that EVs can't be fun and can't be for car people is
silly.
horrible. It needs to be killed, needs to go away. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've been a Porsche file in the past as well. So, I mean, no shame in admitting that.
Yeah.
So I've had a couple of 911 turbos, love those. And some other competitive vehicles in my time where I was able to drive competitive vehicles because I didn't work for FCA.
Gotcha.
Another head of a car brand that owns a Porsche. Interesting. Goes into the list.
There will be an ACR Extreme in the garage at some point soon, I hope.
Oh, Ralph can help you with that.
Yeah.
He signed like most of the ones in existence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll buy one that has his signature already on it. Yeah,
right. Try and find the one without it. It'll be more valuable. So. Anyways, on that
All right,
note.
look, Aamir Ahmed, head of Fiat North America. Thank you so much for coming on The Inevitable.
Ed, Johnny, thank you for the time. Appreciate it. It was great.
The Inevitable Vodcast, brought to you by the all-electric Nissan Ariya. Inspired by the future, designed for the now.